जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजननंदन, यशोदानंदन व्रजजननंदन, यमुना वनचारी, यमुना वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरुदेव की जय। हरे कृष्णा devotees, Hare Krishna Pavan Gaur Prem Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, welcome you on behalf of the ICF team. You can take over, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare
pranams.
Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna, Danda
Hare
Pranams
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Thank you very much for giving me the service to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So whatever I am speaking is for my own purification. So we are reading from Canto 3, the status quo, chapter 31, Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of the living entities, and text 6 to 10. Okay, I think this was the verse given to me. I'm sure that it's the same.
Yes,
30,
Prabhuji, yesterday we finished till 5.
yeah, text 3, 3, 31, 6 to 10. Okay, so I'll do the opening place. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखादमदरिव संयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवतिर्नैष्टिकी। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Mataji, can you somebody take turns to read the sloka translation and the purport, and then we will start. Okay, Archana Mataji, you can recite text 6.
Hare Krishna, Sanam Prabhu. Pranidhi Shada Sarvanga Saukumarya Pradikshanam Murcham Apnodi Guru Kleshas Tatratyai Shudidair Muhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Prashanti Mataji, can you read the purport? Sorry, translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam. Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. It thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sarika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The miserable condition of material existence is not only felt when we come out of the womb of the mother, but is also present within the womb. Miserable life begins from the moment the living entity begins to contact his material body. Unfortunately, we forget this experience and do not take the miseries of birth very seriously. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is specifically mentioned that one should be very alert to understand the specific difficulties of birth and death. Just as during the formation of this body, we have to pass through so many difficulties within the womb of the mother, at the time of death, there are also many difficulties. As described in the previous chapter, one has to transmigrate from one body to another, and the transmigration into the bodies of dogs and hogs is especially miserable. But despite such miserable conditions, due to the spell of Maya, we forget everything and become enamored by the present so-called happiness, which is described as actually no more than a counteraction to distress. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Meenakshi Mataji, can you call names of somebody who wants to recite the next verse? And
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Sure, Prabhuji. Devotees, please raise your hand for reading. I'll read the next sloka, Prabhuji. Chandra Mataji, yes, Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. कटु तीक्ष्णोष्णलवणारूक्षाम्लादिभिरुल्बणैः मातृभुक्तैरुपास्पृष्टः सर्वाङ्गोत्थितवेदनः. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prashanti Mataji, please read translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. Owing to mothers eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pains which are almost intolerable. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranams Prabhuji. Purport by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada ki jai. All descriptions of the child's bodily situation in the womb of the mother are beyond our conception. It is very difficult to remain in such a position, but still the child has to remain because his consciousness is not very developed. The child can tolerate it, otherwise he would die. That is the benediction of Maya, who endows the suffering body with the qualifications for tolerating such terrible tortures. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranams Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Ulbhena samvritastasman naitrascha bahiravritah aste kritva shira kukshau bhugna prishta shirodharah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, pranams. Shobha Mataji, you can read the translation. Chandra Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji and Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestine, the child child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly and his back and neck arched like a bow. Haribol, thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Padma Mataji, you can read the purport.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If a grown man were put into such condition as a child within the abdomen, completely entangled in all respects, it would be impossible for him to live even for a few seconds. Unfortunately, we forgot all these sufferings and try to be happy in this life, not caring for the liberation of the soul from the entanglement of birth and death. It is an unfortunate civilization in which these matters are not plainly discussed to make people understand the precarious condition of material existence. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Shanti Mataji, please read the sloka.
Hare Krishna. अकल्पस्वाङ्कशेष्ठायां शकुन्तैव पञ्चरे तत्र लब्धस्मृतिर्दैवात् कर्म जन्म शदोद्भवम्. One more line. Okay. Smaran dheergamanochvasam karma kim nama vindhate. Hare Krishna.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The child thus remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past, 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? Thank you, Prabhuji. Purport, Archana Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past life. But when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. If we do not believe in the scriptures, that is a different question. But if we have faith in the authority of such descriptions, then we must prepare for our freedom in the next life. That is possible in this human form of life. One who does not take heed of these indications of suffering in human existence is said to be undoubtedly committing suicide. It is said that this human form of life is the only means for crossing over the nascence of Maya or material existence. We have a very efficient boat in this human form of body, and there is a very expert captain, the spiritual master. The scriptural injections are like favorable winds. If we do not cross over the ocean of nescience of material existence, in spite of all these facilities, then certainly we are all intentionally committing suicide. Hare Krishna.
Karpagavali Mataji, please read the verse.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Arebhya saptaman masa labda bodopi pepita naika trasti sudeva the yastabur iva sodaraha. Thank you, Mataji. Translation.
Divya Dasai Mataji, please read the translation.
Krishna Mataji. This endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after his conception. The child is
Mataji, your audio seems to be unclear, Mataji. Please take a chance later. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after his conception, the child is tossed downwards by the airs that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. Like the worms, born of the same filthy abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. Chandana Mataji, please read the purport.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. At the end of the 7th month, the child is moved by the bodily air and does not remain in the same place, for the entire uterine system becomes slackened before delivery. The worms have been described here as Shodara. Shodara means born of the same mother. Since the child is born from the womb of the mother, and the women are also born of fermentation within the womb of the same, and the worms are also born, the worms are also born of fermentation within the womb of the same mother. Under the circumstances, the child and the worms are actually brothers. We are very anxious to establish universal brotherhood among human beings, but we should take into consideration that even the worms are our brothers. What to speak of other living entities? Therefore, we should be concerned about all living entities. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurumritam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Daipadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Saradadam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajiv Satvaitam Sabhadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shri Sagana Shri Lalita Shri Shakanvitamsa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Rigora Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So thank you very much Matajis and Prabhujis who are present here. So we are reading from 3rd canto, chapter 31 and text 6 to 10. So this is the part of the Kapila Siksha, one of the philosophical subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many philosophical subjects, but this Kapila Siksha is one of the very important, philosophical subject of Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you see, we all saw the life, how the marriage happened between the Karnamani and the devotee, and how Lord Kapila Deva appeared, and how the father left the home, and then devotee took shelter of Kapila Deva because she was in so much of anxiety. She realized that her son is the Supreme Lord, so she wanted to take shelter, and she was asking questions. So she asked 7 questions basically, which might have been discussed in the past. The last question is being answered by Kapila Deva. The last question is, she requested the Lord to explain the cycle of birth and death, how this repeated birth and death happens. So she requested Lord Kapila, Devoti, Mother Devoti requested Lord Kapila Deva to explain the cycle of birth and death. So in response to that, maybe 30th chapter, you must have seen, or you must have heard how a conditioned soul goes through so many things, and then how he leaves his body, and then he goes to suffering, maybe to the hellish planet, and then again how he comes back, enters the womb of another mother. It could be either human or it could be any other animal, maybe dog, cat. So the soul has to enter the womb again and again. So this is what is being explained. So particularly in this chapter, you must have seen how maybe in the first few verses, like I think 1 to 5, probably you must have seen how the union between a man and a woman happens, and how the semen mixes with the blood, how the child develops within the body, like within first week, within the first month, within the 3rd month, 4th month, 5th month, what happens. So you must have heard already about these things. Now this next 5 verses, this 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, describes the suffering of the womb of the conditioned living entity within the mother's womb. So we all understand, or we all, mostly, in the in the TV channels and in the movies, they say that mother's womb is the most safest place, So the mother cares so that the child doesn't have to suffer anything. So the mother's womb is the most safest place. Like that, they promote, they propagate like this. But from Bhagavatam, we can understand that even the mother's womb is not a nice place. So if you see in text 6, Kapiladev is saying that, bitten again and again all over the body, because if you see, the child's body is very, very tender. A newborn, maybe just born baby, we always have some, even we use some clothes which are very, very soft. Nowadays there are so many creams and cosmetic items are available for the babies who are just born. You cannot use cloth which we are using for ourselves for a newborn baby, because the skin of the baby is very, very delicate. It's very, very sensitive. So then this is when the child comes out of the womb of the mother. But imagine when the child is inside the womb of the mother, and and it is suffering by the bite of the worms within the womb of the mother. So you can see that the worms which are there in the womb are biting the body of the tender body of the child within the womb again and again, because the womb, the worms has to eat something. They have to live, they have to grow, because every living entity sustains on something. They have to eat something, because there is no living entity that doesn't eat food, because everyone wants something to eat and grow. So similarly, the worms within the womb also wants to eat something, so they don't get anything to eat, and they eat the body of the tender body of the child. So what happens because of this? The child constantly falling unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Because as we saw in the the slokas which are coming, so the child is in the womb of a mother. He can't move. He is in a very cramped position. He is not in a comfortable position. He was cramped. He was not in a there is not very much space. So his legs and hands, head movement, everything is restricted. So the child is not able to move freely, and in that position, the worms are also biting the child. Because of that, what happens? This child goes through extreme pain, and he could not express the pain, and the child becomes unconscious moment after moment. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, so this is the miserable condition of the material world. This is the miserable condition of the material world. So we may think, when we come out, we grow up, we go through so much misery, it's better to stay in the womb of the mother. Many times we hear this dialogues. But from Bhagavatam, we can understand that even the mother's womb is also a miserable place. Somewhere else, Prabhupada writes in the purports in Srimad Bhagavatam that we go through this janma vyadhi jara mrityu. So the vyadhi, the disease, we don't want to experience disease, but we all get disease. If you see, every single person in the whole creation, they don't want to get diseased. That is why if you see this hospitals and the pharmacy and those industries are such a huge industry. They make billions and billions, like, by selling medicines every year. This pharmaceutical industries, they make billions of dollars, billions of money, that they make profit so much. Why? Because they are telling you that something that you want. Like, for example, everybody doesn't want to die. So people are naturally having the fear of death. So they are using the factor of fear to make money out of it. But actually, death cannot be avoided. So this is the miserable condition of the material world. So Prabhupada writes, miserable life begins from the moment the living entity begins to contact his material body. So why I came to the disease, because Prabhupada in another purport, somewhere I don't remember, but in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes in the purport that what is the disease of this what is the disease of this body? The disease itself is the body. The body, sorry, accepting a body, material body itself is a disease, because the material body has to go through changes. We saw there are 6 changes happening within the body, and this body finally has to die, and this body has to go through the 6 changes and finally dies. So what happens? Accepting the body itself is a disease. So one should be intelligent enough to understand and try to get out of this cycle of birth and death by practicing Krishna consciousness. So the problem with the material world is people are not taking it seriously. They see there is birth and there is death, and in between they go through so much. And the people think that, oh, when the death happens, they think that, oh, it's only for them, it's only for them. When your neighbor dies, when your relative dies, when our own close relatives like father, mother, they die. Sometimes even the husband dies, the wife dies. Sometimes before the parents, the children dies. But still we think that, oh, this death is for them, and it is not for me, or for at least not for me, at least not now for me. So there's a lot of time for me. So we have this tendency. One of the questions asked by, we all know this pastime of Yudhishthira Maharaj answering 10 questions. If you know this Mahabharata, like the Dharmaraj or the Yamaraj comes as in the form of the crane, and that Dharma Kund is there in Vrindavan. If you go, I think it's in Kamyavan, if I'm not wrong. In the Kamyavan, there is a place called Dharma Kund. Dharma Kund means where this discussion has happened, where that all the brothers, they went to fetch water from when they were in exile. When they were in exile in forest, so they went to fetch water, and then there was a crane, and the crane told, if you take water, you will die. But all the other brothers, like Nakula, Sagadeva, Bhima, Arjuna, they all ignored this warning, and they just took water and they drank water, and they immediately died. And they were lying down dead. And Yudhishthira Maharaj went there, and we all know this pastime. And Yudhishthira Maharaj answered, like, because the crane told, if you answer my 10 questions, then you can, I'll give you a benediction. So then what happens? Yudhishthira Maharaj started answering the question. One of the question asked by Dharmaraj is, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? What is the most wonderful thing? For that, Yudhishthira Maharaj did not answer the most wonderful thing is Taj Mahal. Oh, it's so beautiful. Or the Paisa Tower, or the Eiffel Tower, or something in the Great Wall of China is the most wonderful thing. No, Yudhishthira Maharaj did not answer those things. Yudhishthira Maharaj said that the most wonderful thing is that people see death but they see it is for others, and they don't realize that they are going to die, and they are, they are also going to die, and they think that it is not going to happen for them. So this is the most wonderful thing, or for to see, because people see the suffering, but they don't inquire that how I can overcome this death. People see death coming. People see birth is happening again and again, and death is happening again and again, and they are not interested in taking up to the knowledge which is given in the scriptures to overcome this cycle of birth and death. So that is why in the Bhagavad Gita, it is always told. Prabhupada writes in the purport, one should be very alert to understand the specific difficulties of birth and death. So we should be always alert, because if you take a birth, then there is a death, and when the death happens, what is the next is the transmigration of the soul. The soul will be transferred into another mother. We don't know which womb it will be. It could be a dog's womb, it could be a cat's womb, it could be some other filthy animal's womb, it could be the womb of a worm, it could be anything. If you get a human body, you're fortunate enough. But if you don't get a human body, then if you have to go through so much suffering, in the animal's body. But despite such miserable condition, what we do, we try to enjoy happiness in this material world. We try to find happiness in this material world. So there was one young boy who was in the age of marriage, but he was trying to find a girl. He couldn't find a girl. He's getting older and older. And one day, one of his friends asked, my dear friend, what happened? Why you are looking, dull? Why you are looking morose? The other boy said, I'm getting older and I'm not able to find a girl to get married. And the friend asked, oh, what happened? Why it is not happening? And then the friend said, I found a girl. I shown it to my mother. The mother said no. And then I found the second one. I shown to my mother. The mother said no. Again, I went third one. The mother said no. And then I found one girl who was so beautiful. And I thought this will be a perfect match. Then I shown it to my mother. Mother said no. Then this friend asked, then why don't you find a girl who is just like your mother? Then the friend said, yes, I did that one also. I shown it to my mother. Sorry, I shown it to my, I found a girl just like my mother. I shown it, but my father said no. So this is the condition, we want to do something, but our thoughts, our actions, and everything is influenced by our relatives or our parents or our friends, our society, our community, our our colleagues. So like this, like this boy was trying to get married, but he's always influenced by the opinion of the mother and the father. So what happens? If you see, in this material world, we all are trying to enjoy the happiness. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that this place is a place of misery. Okay, because he says Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. This place is Dukkhalayam. This is a place of misery, and Ashashvatam. This is a temporary place. So, given the opinion of all other people in the entire creation, in the entire history of the world, and the opinion of Krishna on the other side, which one is the best? Krishna's opinion. We have to follow the footsteps of Krishna. So always we should understand that we should try to please Krishna and follow the instructions. So Krishna says this place is Dukkalayam, and we are trying to find happiness here. We try to do so many things because we do everything in this material world to find happiness. We don't do anything to become sad in this material world, right? We don't, nobody is planning, okay, today I'm going to do something by which I'm going to, cry in the afternoon. No, we won't do that. We will not do that. We only try to find happiness by our activities. So Prabhupada, that's what it's, Prabhupada writes in the purport. Prabhupada says, the so-called happiness. Actually, it is not happiness. Prabhupada once Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada asked one of his disciples, what is the meaning of good morning? Good morning. So the disciple said, no, I don't know, Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada said, good morning means that nothing miserable has happened so far. That is why it is good morning. Means there is a danger in this material world. What is that? In every step there is a padam yat padam. What is it? So Brahmaji says that every step there is a danger in this material world, and we are trying to find happiness here in this material world. So, Prabhupada told, that is why it is good morning means nothing has happened so far miserable. So if you see, people read newspaper in the morning, and this newspaper gives so much hope for the people. Why? Whenever you open paper, okay, now you can open, nowadays if you open the paper, you can see that there is a bombing in the Palestine. Israel has bombed, 100 people killed. There was a flight crash, 200 people killed. There was a bombing in another country, 200 people killed. So whenever we open the newspaper, we see all these things, and people have a lot of hope. Oh, thank you so much that I am alive today. So many people are dying. At least I am alive today. So that is why this newspaper gives people the hope, because they are comparing their misery with others' misery, so that they can be very, very happy. They can be, they console themselves. Oh, my misery is lesser than others' misery. But we have to understand that this place is a place of misery. There is no happiness. Okay. So Prabhupada writes very important lines for, at the end of the 6th sloka. Actually, no more than counteracting to distress. Actually, there is distress is coming one after another, but the gap between two distress, we consider it as happiness. There is actually no real happiness. It's only the reflection of the happiness. Okay, because this entire creation is the reflection of the spiritual world. The original happiness, where it is there in the spiritual world. So, like how the waves, when you go to the ocean, there is waves constantly coming, like one after another, and in between two waves, you will see for a moment the sea is very quiet. Just for a moment. It's not even for a long time. It's just for a moment. The sea is quiet, and you can see very calm, and that is what we are considered as a happiness. Like for example, in our life, we have distress after distress, one after another. It's keep on coming, but the gap between two distress, we consider it as happiness. So that is what is the situation of the living entity. And then what happens in the text 7, if you see, already this child is being bitten by the worms within the womb. And apart from that, what happens? The mother is also eating bitter pungent food, which are spicy, salty, sour, and that also makes the body of the child incessantly suffer pain, which are almost intolerable. Like, what will happen? Like, when we go through extreme pain, we will faint. We will faint. So similar, the child is also in the similar situation. What happens? It is trying to, go through the pain, but it's almost intolerable because the mother is eating pungent food, oily food, spicy food, salty, sour food. Like, all the mothers would have experienced it. When they eat something, when they were carrying a child in the womb, when they eat something, sometimes the child moves very within the womb. The child moves faster, or the child, the movement of the child become more and more when the mother is eating, and all the mother think, oh, my child is moving, and I think my child is enjoying what I am eating. They think that maybe they are eating some nice dish, maybe a chole bhatura, or maybe some idli with some spicy chutney. They think, oh, my child is, that is why the child is moving. But actually, if you read Bhagavatam, you can understand that when you are eating any pungent, very spicy, salty food, it is because of the pain the child is moving within the womb. It is because of the the pain that the child is experiencing. It is moving within the womb of the mother. So Prabhupada writes, all descriptions of the child's body situation in the womb of the mother are beyond conception. We cannot imagine, or we cannot understand what the child is going through within the womb. But from Bhagavatam, we can understand a little bit. We can understand what is happening to the child. But of course, it is beyond the conception. We cannot fully experience, fully understand what is happening to the child. But just through the Bhagavatam, the words of Lord Kapila, we can understand. Through the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, of course, we can understand what is happening within the womb. So the child is in a very, very precarious condition. It is inside the womb, dark. The child cannot move, and also it is going through so much pain. The mother is eating so much, pungent food and spicy food, which is causing a pain in the sensitive skin of the body of the child. And apart from that, there is also worms are biting it, because whatever the mother eats, sometimes goes to the womb, and then the body, the child will experience the pain of the biting of the worm. And sometimes because of the pain, the child thinks that he want to die. He could not die because he was within the womb of the mother, and it thinks that he couldn't leave the body because he don't have the independence to leave the body, because he was put into the body by the arrangement of the Lord through the agency of Maya. So Prabhupada, that is the benediction of Maya, who endows the suffering body with the qualification for tolerating such terrible torture. It's something which we all experience in the womb, and that is because of the suffering nature of this material world. And then what happens? Placed within the next sloka, the text 8, placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned around, his belly and his back and neck arched like a bow. So you can understand that how, most of you must have seen how the body or the child is placed within the womb. As the child grows, it becomes upside down, and it is in a very, very cramped position, like legs and ants are restricted. The neck is bent towards the belly, So these all are like, we can see actually what is there, whatever is given in the Bhagavatam, we can see it nowadays through the scanning and all these things, like modern medical technologies helps you to see the exact position of this child. But this Bhagavatam is composed, 5,000 years ago, when there is no ultrasound or any other technological modern medical technologies available. But those times it was given. So maybe if you go to any medical practitioner, they will say exactly, yes, this is the position of the child when the child is there in the womb of the mother. So that is why we should develop the faith in the scriptures. We should develop faith in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And we are to regularly read and try to understand Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and try to overcome the repeated cycle of birth and death. So the child position is in the child within the womb is in a very difficult position. And that position was given in the text 8. So Prabhupada writes, if a grown-up man, like for example, now we all are grown up, if we are put in such a condition, like, we are put into a room which is very dark, there is no sunlight, there is, nothing available for you, you have to sit in a very restricted position, and you have to stay there for almost, months together, it's impossible. Prabhupada writes, it's impossible for him to live even for a few seconds, what to speak of months. Okay, but as soon as the child comes out, or even even after understanding all these things, we forget all this suffering the moment we come out of it. And what we are trying to do is to try to enjoy, find happiness in this life, and not caring for cutting the cycle of birth and death. So that is the very unfortunate civilization. Like, Prabhupada always told how this modern civilization is very, very unfortunate, because there is no God consciousness. People are, I think Prabhupada writes in some other books, in some of his small books, Prabhupada writes that almost all the churches are empty, the mosques are empty, the temples are empty. Why? Because people are not, inclined to Krishna consciousness. Like, you go to a temple, even near to your home, whatever the temple it may be, you will find only few people there coming to the temple. Not everybody, or you don't see such a big crowd like a festival day. Only on festival day they come, they pray to the Lord and they go. But apart from that, it's all empty. Why? Because of the unfortunate civilization which is happening, which is demonic, which is taking us away from the God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. And text 9, so Prabhupada says, Kapila Deva says, the child thus remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births, and he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? So, in that precarious condition, a very, very difficult situation, the child within the womb, and if the child is, fortunate enough, he can remember. If the child is a devotee, he can remember the past lives, distresses, maybe 100 lives of distress that he went through. And he grieves wretchedly. Like, he thinks, why I have taken this body? Why I am going through all these things? Like that. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, after birth, the child may forget about the difficulties of his past life. But when we are grown up and we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, So Srimad Bhagavatam gives us the details of the suffering that we go through at the time of birth and also at the time of death. So there are so many other Puranas describe how you die, how a person gives up his body, how much pain he goes through, what happens to the, like, I think particularly Garuda Puran, because that's why, many people, when somebody dies, they read Garuda Puran at their home, but, our Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we read Bhagavad Gita. Somebody leaves their body in the home. So the Garuda Puran gives you the details of how the Emeralds comes and how they capture the soul, they snatch away the soul and they take them, what are the experience that the soul goes through after death. Everything is given in detail in Garuda Puran. So what happens at the time of death? If you are so much attached to this body, it will be so painful to go through the experience of death. But if you are not attached to this body, a Krishna consciousness, if you understood that this body is temporary and I am the soul, I am not this body, then it's very easy to give up this body at the time of death. Otherwise, we have to go through so much of pain, which is given in the scriptures. For example, maybe in the villages or now even in India, many parts of India, you can see some big banyan trees, and this banyan tree's roots goes maybe kilometers. It is not even some few meters. It's some kilometers away. You will find the root of the banyan tree. It goes underneath. It's so rooted to the earth. And at the same time, you see another example is the grass. The grass is, the root is there just on the surface of the earth only. So if you want to remove or pull out both the trees, of course, pulling out the banyan tree is so difficult because it is so rooted, because it's so attached to the earth. So it is very difficult to pull the banyan tree out from the earth. But as a blade of grass, it's very easy. You just with one of your finger, you can easily remove or uproot the blade of grass. Why I gave this example is because, like, if you are attached so much to the body, and when the Yamatudas comes and they takes the soul, they don't want to leave the body because they are so attached to the body, and the pain is so much, the suffering is so much. But a devotee, is like a blade of grass. He is not attached to the body. He understands that this body is temporary. I am not this body. I am a spirit soul. So when he leaves his body, it's like, pulling the uprooting the blade of grass. So it's very simple. There's no pain, there's no suffering for the devotee. So that's why we should regularly read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, to understand how this transmigration happens. And without reading Bhagavad Gita, it is very difficult. When you see the people outside, they think that this life is all in all. After the death, nothing else. We go back to ashes. So they think that everything ends with the end of this body. But when you read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, you can understand that there is life after death. And this life is the preparation of the next life. Like, for example, now we all have this human form. We have this human form, and first of all, we have a form which is very, very, because I think it's Prabhupada writes in the same purport. Prabhupada writes is the human form of life is the only means for crossing over the designs of Maya or material existence. Yeah. So we have this very, very precious human form. You know, Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavad in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Durlabham Manusham Janma. So it is very, very rare, very, very difficult. Durlabham means very, very rare. Durlabham Manusham Janma. Like Manusham means human form, and Janma means getting a human form. So Prahlad Maharaj says Durlabham Manusham Janma. So it's very difficult to get this human form. And what happens after getting this form, if somebody is not using it to go back home, back to God, or using it for the pleasure of Krishna, like as I mentioned before, you know, like we have the opinions of the entire people from the entire history, and we have the opinion of Krishna. Of course, Krishna's opinion is more valuable. So in this human form, what we have to do is to practice Krishna consciousness and, you know, use this rarely achieved human form to go back home, back to Godhead. And it's very important, like Prabhupada gives the example of the human form to be the boat, and the spiritual master is the captain, and you know, the spiritual injunctions or the favorable winds. For example, the scriptures, what we read from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita are like the favorable winds. Like, you know, you want to travel in an ocean, you want to cross the ocean. So first of all, what you need a boat or a ship. Okay. And then once you get a boat or ship, it's not easy. Imagine, you know, you have to cross the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean. It's not easy, because once you, like, I traveled in ship many times. Once you go inside the ship, few kilometers away from the shore, you can't understand where you are. You don't see, you know, which side is the north or east or west, you know, where to sail, which direction you have to go. Nothing. You see only water all around. And whatever, you know, sometimes you travel for hours, you will see only water. You don't see anything else. So what you need is a captain. The captain is like the spiritual master. Spiritual master is like the captain. You know, when you get this human form, you have to take shelter of a spiritual master, and then read the scriptures, because the scriptures are like the favorable wind, which will help us to sail the ship or the boat in the right direction, so that we can cross the portion of designs. And Prabhupada writes in the same purport, you know, in the text 9, if you don't utilize what we have right now, then we are intentionally committing suicide. That is, I think in some other, I read, but I don't remember, Atmaja. Atmaja means killer of the soul. Who is the killer of the soul? One who does not use the rarely achieved human form to cut the cycle of birth and death and go back to God. That person is called as the killer of the soul, or one who is committing suicide. And finally, in the text 10, you know, what happens after the child develops consciousness, that, like, you know, because the consciousness is there from the very beginning, and slowly the consciousness develops. And from the 7th month, what happened? The child is tossed downward by the airs that presses the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. So what happens? The child starts moving down, as he's already in a very, very awkward position. Like, you know, he's upside down, the head is down, the head is, you know, pressed towards the belly, and also is pressed downwards by the air. Okay. And when the you know, like the worms born of the same filthy abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. So what happens at the time of delivery? Prabhupada writes in the purport that when the time of delivery, what happens along with the child, there are wombs also given birth, because it's already growing within the womb of the mother, so that means they are like the brothers of the same child. Okay, so Prabhupada writes Sodara. Sodara means born of the same mother. Who is that born of the same mother? The what is that? The wombs are born out of the same mother. Born out of the same mother. So Prabhupada writes, we have to respect all living entities. Prabhupada writes, we should take into consideration that even the wombs are our brothers. So what to speak of other living entities? So this is a very good concept of understanding or achieving the universal brotherhood, because the whole world wants to achieve the universal brotherhood. The whole objective of establishing the United Nations organization is to achieve peace, is to attain peace. It was set up immediately after the Second World War. But if you see, after the Second World War, there so many wars has happened. So many people are killed. The United Nations organization cannot achieve, the universal brotherhood or the world peace, because they are not practicing, or they are not preaching Krishna consciousness, the God consciousness. So without God consciousness, without Krishna consciousness, it is very, very difficult to establish peace. Otherwise, it's always people are agitated. The one country wants to occupy the another. One person wants to control the another person. All things this happen. Even within the family, one person wants to control the another person. So many things happen, and it's very, very difficult to establish peace and attain happiness without establishing Krishna consciousness. So that is why this world is full of misery. Dukkalayam ashashvatam. Prabhupada, in one of the, one time, Kadambakanana Maharaj, somebody approached Kadambakanana Maharaj, and somebody asked Kadambakanana Maharaj, Maharaj, I am practicing Krishna consciousness, but my friends don't like it. They become angry when I'm practicing Krishna consciousness. When they see me doing Krishna conscious activities, they become angry. They are not happy with me. So what to do? So Kadambakanana Maharaj said, if you practice Krishna consciousness, your friends becomes angry. If you don't practice Krishna consciousness, then Krishna becomes angry. Now you have to decide to whom you want to please. You want to please everyone else, or you want to please Krishna. So you have to decide. So we have to understand that Krishna's opinion is topmost. But Krishna says this place is a place of misery. And we have to understand and take shelter of a spiritual master using this most rarely achieved human form. For example, I always tell this to in my classes, when such topics arise, that we got a human form that itself is most valuable, most rarely achieved. Apart from that, we have everything intact. For example, we have a proper body, which everything is functioning, because sometimes people doesn't have a leg to walk, doesn't have a vision to see, cannot hear, deaf and dumb. Sometimes their intelligence is not developed properly. So that means they are going through some reactions of the previous life. But at least we are very pious enough that we got this human body and we got our body intact. Everything is functioning properly. Our intelligence is functioning properly. Our hands and legs are working properly. And, we, apart from that, we got an opportunity. We have opulence. We have money. We are earning nicely. And finally, apart from all these things, we got an opportunity to hear about Krishna and practice Krishna consciousness. That is the most rarest opportunity. Because this opportunity doesn't given to everyone. Only those who are very fortunate gets this opportunity to hear about Krishna, to practice Krishna consciousness. Like, you see there are some, I think some 8 billion people in this earth. Not everybody comes into contact with Krishna, comes into contact with Srila Prabhupada, comes into contact with Krishna consciousness, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But we are fortunate enough that we got an opportunity to practice everything. So if we think that we got all these things because of our previous acts, like for example, getting a human body, getting a human body without any defects, getting the opulence, getting education, getting the beauty, all these things is because of our past life. Then what we should do is to prepare this body, use this body so that we can cross over the ocean of nescience and go back home, back to Godhead. So for that, very important is that we take shelter of a spiritual master. For example, this body, imagine you have an iPad, because I saw some meme or some video in the WhatsApp forward in the social media that somebody is using one daughter gifted her father an iPad, a brand new iPad. And this father doesn't know what is an iPad. So he thought that is a cutting board and he's using the iPad to cut vegetables. Like, he kept it on top of it and then he was cutting vegetable. So if one doesn't know the value of iPad, the iPad can do multiple functions. We can use it anything. We can do a lot of activities using an iPad. But the most lowest activity is to use it for cutting the vegetables. Or you can use the iPhone as a door stopper. Imagine you have an iPhone and you are using it, you don't know the value of it, and you are using it just as a door stopper. So that is less intelligent. Similarly, if you have a human form and if you don't use it to go back to God, and then you are simply using it to, for sense gratification, then of course we are not intelligent. We are less intelligent. That is why there is a suffering from the very birth until the death. So we should make sure that we use this body and go back home, back to Godhead. For that, very important is to take shelter of a spiritual master. So I'll tell one story and end this class. One time, Dasarathi was a very great scholar and a disciple of Sripad Ramanujacharya. And he went to Ramanujacharya and he asked, my dear Gurudev, what is the purport of Sarvadharman Parityaja? Like what is the purport? What is the meaning of it? Sarvadharman Parityaja. Because he asked that, we always say, the Sarvadharman Parityaja, the Bhagavad Gita sloka. And then Dasarathi said that you are not qualified enough to get or to understand the Sarvadharman Parityaja, because Dasarathi was a great sannyasi actually. He was a great scholar. So he said, you go and ask my another guru who is Goshtipurna or Tirukoshinambigal. In Tamil we call it Tirukoshinambigal, and in North India or in the scriptures is called as Goshtipurna. So then he went and Goshtipurna, he served Goshtipurna for 6 months nicely, and then Goshtipurna asked, what is the purpose? Why you came here? And then Dasarathi said, I want to know the purport of Sarvadharman Parityaja. So Goshtipurna said, no, that is a very big, very high subject matter. I cannot reveal those things. And only Ramanujacharya can tell this to you. So then Dasarathi came back to Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya this time asked whether, Dasarathi told, I didn't get this purport. I went to Goshtipurna. You told me to go to Goshtipurna. I went to Goshtipurna, but he didn't give me this purport. So now you tell me. He said, At the same time, what happened? There was one relative of one of the guru of Ramanujacharya, Atulai. He came because she was lamenting. She said that she got married and she was living in the in-laws place, and she has to, she was lamenting that she has to carry water every day and she has to walk 6 to 7 kilometers to fetch water. And after that, she has to come back home. She has to do a lot of household stuff, take care of the children, cook, worship the deities, worship the Lord. So many things she has to do. So she asked for a housemaid, a domestic help to her in-laws. And the in-laws said, the mother-in-law said, if you want, you go and ask your father. We cannot afford to have a domestic maid. So that is why I came here to find a good housemaid. And Ramacharya heard this and he said, I have a very good a domestic help. Here he is, you can take him. And he shown up to Dasarathi. Dasarathi, did not say anything. He just went with Atulai and he started working as a cook. Very nicely he was cooking. Every day he makes so many dishes, varieties, and the whole family and even the whole village was so happy that this person is a nice cook, and he does all the household works very nicely. And one day what happened, some scholar visited the village and he started speaking, and Dasarathi was also present. And what happened? Hearing, and this scholar who was speaking started adding some tinge of Mayavadana. And Dasarathi was a very trained Vaishnava scholar, immediately stood up and stopped this scholar, said, what you are speaking is absolutely wrong. And then all the people become astonished because they thought, what is this cook? So far he was cooking nicely, and why he suddenly is talking like this? They all started thinking what this cook ate today morning. He started talking like this. He's just a cook and he's talking to a scholar like this. And Dasarathi, then everybody said, hey, why you are talking like this? Sit. You are only a cook. You don't talk like this. Then Dasarathi said, no. This guy, I need to teach him a lesson. What he is speaking is not correct because he is speaking everything Mayavad. And then he quoted so many verses from so many scriptures and refuted the full argument or the full presentation of the scholar. And he defeated him completely. And this scholar immediately understood that, okay, this person is not an ordinary cook. So he asked, I understand that you are not a cook. So please tell me what is there? Who are you? Reveal your identity. Then Dasarathi said that is the time he told, I am Dasarathi. I am the disciple of Ramanujacharya. Then everybody become astonished because everybody knows Dasarathi. All the people, they know Dasarathi, but they don't know how he will look because they are not in the modern age, immediately go to internet, open a browser and search Dasarathi, then you find the images. No, they don't have this facility. So they know Dasarathi. They know Dasarathi was a great sannyasi, a great scholar, but they don't know how he will look. But Dasarathi was a sannyasi, was serving as a domestic maid, and then now his identity was revealed. Immediately Atulai became shocked. When the whole family becomes shocked, what kind of sin I have committed? Because getting a sannyasi to serve me or serve the family is a great sin. So then what happened? Immediately, the Atulai and all then they asked why you did like this. Then Dasarathi told, my spiritual master told me to serve. I came here to serve. That's it. So then they all took Dasarathi to Ramanujacharya, and then they told Ramanujacharya. Now Atulai went and told, my dear, Acharya, why you are doing this to us? If you have something between you and your disciple, it's between you and the spiritual, between you and your disciple. Why you are bringing us in the middle? Why you want us to suffer? Why you are putting, Dasarathi to cook for us, and we are committing a great offense by taking service from a great sannyasi. If something between you and your disciple, please resolve between you and your disciple. Why you are bringing us? Why you are putting us in trouble? So then Atulai told, we are all very pleased with the Dasarathi that he was a great person, he was a great servant, he was a great sannyasi, and he is a great scholar. And then Ramanujacharya became very pleased. Then he told, now you are qualified to hear the purport of Sarvadharman Parityajya. Why? Because he unconditionally, without hesitation, he immediately surrendered to Ramacharya. When Ramacharya said no, when Ramacharya said no, you go and become a domestic help in Natulai's house. That's why they did not resist. He did not say, "Who? No, why you are telling me? I'm not a cook. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm a great sannyasi. I'm a scholar." He did not say anything. He immediately surrendered. So that surrender is the lesson from this story. You have to surrender to the spiritual master, hear from him, and serve him so that we can understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and we can go back home, back to Godhead in this human form. So I'll stop here as we went through. Yeah, we went more. So I'll stop
Thank
here.
you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Any question?
It's 10:45,
one.
Prabhuji. Yeah, one or two questions probably, maybe. Hare Krishna. Padma Mataji, yes, please ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danda Pranam. Going through these chapters, I just want to ask you something which I heard over a lecture, and I also seen a video wherein it says that when the baby is around 7 months old, the baby gets so fed up, going through all these bad experiences. The baby prays to the Lord and asking him to relieve him, to take him out, because it's naraka, it's hell, and he doesn't want to wait there. That time Krishna shows him his 100 years past births in a flash and says, all this time, this is what you have been. So he says, no, now this time when I come out, I'll definitely become your devotee, and please take me out. Is this true, Prabhuji?
It is only not for all the child mothers. It's only for very, very fortunate child who may be a devotee. They only get this experience. And this is coming next. Maybe in the next few days, you will hear those things.
Okay,
but I'm not sure about Krishna comes and this one. But the child prays. The child prays within the womb very, very because it's like, child in a helpless condition. Like
yes.
Prabhupada always tells, like how we have to chant like a child. Like how a child is crying for a mother, like that we have to chant. So this child is in a very, very helpless condition, prays, and it is coming. This is the next portion of this same chapter is the prayers of the child, or the child within the womb, and how he offers prayers. This all is coming next. So just wait for a few more days, or maybe within the next 2-3 days, you will see those things.
Yeah, okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Any more questions? Anita
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna.
yes, please ask.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dhanur Pranams Prabhu. So I have a question of this follow-up question of what Mataji has asked. So it is said, as you were saying, that only fortunate child soul will pray to the Lord, right, when it is in the womb. But I also heard that each and every soul which is put in the mother's womb, it will pray. So what is how to understand this, Prabhu? And what do you mean by that fortunate? So what is the fortunate soul?
Fortunate means those who have done severe or more pious acts, or there may be devotees in the previous life, somehow they fell. For example, we can see the life of Jada Bharat. That King Bharat was almost in Bhava stage, and then he fell from there. And then when he was in the womb when he was given a birth as a deer, he was remembering the past life that he was a king. And then he left his body, and then he got another body that is as a Jada Bharat. When he was a Jada Bharat, he was remembering his past life, and he was very, very careful in his dealings, that he doesn't want to expose himself as a normal child. So he was acting as a Jada Bharat, like, he was acting that as though he was less intelligent or mentally ill, like that. So like that, so many, only very, very fortunate means those who have done Krishna conscious activities in the past, but they couldn't complete it. They were put into the womb of a devotee, and those child may remember the Lord within the womb. That's not the case for everyone, but as you see in the next few slokas, I think the next portion of the same chapter is the prayers of the child. Maybe in those purports, Prabhupada will write what is exactly happening and who is praying, and all these details is coming up in the next few slokas. Probably you can wait and hear in the next few classes.
Okay, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji,
So
for the
we'll
wonderful
stop here,
class,
Mataji.
especially.
So,
Yes, Prabhuji. Dasarathi's story was very much wonderful and, lesson giving for all of us. Thank you so much for Prabhuji. Can we end the class with prayers, Prabhuji?
thank you very much, Mataji.
Mancha kalpadurubhischa,
Besya
kripasindhu
kripa
devacha,
sindhubhya
patitanam
evacha patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo namo namo
Ananta Koti Vaishnava
Koti
ki jai,
Vaishnava
Srila
ki jai,
Prabhupada
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Grantharaj
Thank you,
Thank you so
Srimad
much,
Prabhuji.
Bhagavatam
Prabhuji.
ki jai.
Grantharaj
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. With your permission, shall I end the class, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.